Welcome into Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope all of you are having fantastic Fridays wherever across this great nation you may find yourself. I want to tell you off the jump, go to my friends at sportsbookreview.com and make sure you get hooked up with the best possible numbers on whatever your NFL and college football gambling picks may be this weekend. Wherever you are, thank you. Thank you for all of your support of Outkick. I will be flying to London tomorrow. I've got to do my Lock It In show. We are nearly the end of the week, and I appreciate all of you. We got a lot to get to. My name is Clay Travis. This is Outkick the Show. Sportsbookreview.com is our sponsor. Go check out their numbers there. And please, wherever you may be, get out there and make sure that if you need a new mortgage, you're going to go to my friend Ryan Kelly. Also, if you got too much credit card debt, let him wipe it out for you wherever you may be across the country, thehomeloanexpert.com. I know it is a little bit later than normal on Friday, but I am going to break down all of the data here. I'm going to talk about last night's Giants dumpster fire against the Eagles, giving my college football and NFL gambling picks. I'm going to talk about why Bama and Ohio State's resumes are nearly identical. And anybody who's saying Bama ain't played anybody needs to be saying the same thing about Ohio State. The fallout of Brett Kavanaugh's Senate hearing is going to be very beneficial to Republicans, and I am headed. So, all right, let's jump right in. The Giants dumpster fire. Here's what I would do if I were the GM of the Giants right now. I would be on the phone all weekend long talking to teams that believe they can contend for championships, trying to get them to take away Odell Beckham Jr. from me. I saw everything I need to see from Odell Beckham Jr. to confirm that my initial position is not wrong. In other words, I was right. Odell Beckham Jr. made the decision to walk off the field with 1 second left last night and also got into it with like a cooling unit or whatever it was on the sideline. I believe that Odell Beckham is drastically overpaid. This is not Monday morning quarterbacking, not Friday morning quarterback, not hindsight being 2020. I said on the day the Giants announced that new deal, that news broke, that you can't pay a wide receiver in the NFL $20 million a year. No wide receiver in the history of the game has been worth $20 million a year. And as point to make that case, I said, name me a Hall of Fame wide receiver that Aaron Rodgers has had. Name me a Hall of Fame wide receiver that Drew Brees has had. Name me a Hall of Fame wide receiver that Tom Brady has had. By and large, the Montana Rice era or even the Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison era is not one that is commonplace. Most of the time, when you go and look at guys who have multi-year, and people want to say Randy Moss, I've eliminated that for a long time. Randy Moss went to Tom Brady for a couple of years, and they didn't win a championship together. Brady's 5 Super Bowls all came without Randy Moss, and he didn't even get Randy Moss at the peak of his career. The best receiver Tom Brady has ever had for multiple years is Rob Gronkowski. Okay? That is the reality when you look at the numbers. Quarterbacks make wide receivers. Wide receivers do not make quarterbacks. If you put Antonio Brown on the Jacksonville Jaguars, he would be average. If you put Odell Beckham on the Dallas Cowboys, he would be a good receiver, not a great receiver. He would make nowhere near $20 million a year. When I saw him walk off of the field with 1 second left, I knew that he was not my guy. The best player on the New York Giants roster on the offensive side of the ball, beyond a shadow of a doubt, is Saquon Barkley. If I were running the New York Giants right now, what I would do is build around Saquon Barkley, much like the Rams built around Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley was their top 5 pick. They knew they had a lot of talent there. They went back into the draft. They got Jared Goff. They fired Jeff Fisher, and everything ended up coming up roses for the Rams when they hired Sean McVay. I would make the decision right now to trade Odell Beckham Jr. to a team that believes they can play in the championships. A couple of things you need to know about Odell Beckham Jr. He's never been on a team that won a playoff game. Eli Manning, while you might want to criticize him, won 2 Super Bowls without Odell Beckham Jr. Odell Beckham Jr. has never even been on a Giants team that won a playoff game. So I can't invest big money in Odell Beckham Jr., and I told you this at the time. I said, money makes you more of what you already are. If Odell Beckham Jr. was already a malcontent who you couldn't trust, if you knew that beyond a shadow of a doubt, then you would understand. You would understand that the reason why he's going to get $20 million a year, it's not going to change his behavior. It's going to make things worse. Eli is a Hall of Fame quarterback. I think that Odell Beckham Jr. is headed towards being T.O. I think Odell Beckham Jr. is headed towards being T.O. And if you know that Eli is not the answer, if you know that Eli is not the answer at quarterback, which I think it's probably fair to say for the years ahead, you are going to have to go into the draft and take someone new. Maybe you take Herbert out of Oregon. Maybe you're going to take Drew Lock. Whoever your high-end draft pick is going to be if you are the Giants. Do you want your high-end quarterback draft pick to walk into that locker room and decide to have to deal with all of the ridiculousness of Odell Beckham Jr.? Or do you want your quarterback to walk in and learn from Saquon Barkley how to be a professional and build around him? I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think it is a coincidence at all that on the sideline, even though he's 4 or 5 years younger, Saquon Barkley was already trying to calm down Odell Beckham Jr. I think Odell Beckham is highly overrated. I think if you could find somebody to give you a first-round draft pick and take away his $20 million a year contract, you aren't going to win a championship with Odell Beckham Jr. It's time to get out of the mix and stop making bad decisions if you're the Giants and rebuild your team in the same vein as the Rams did. Now, if you find ultimately a good quarterback with other good wide receivers, as the Rams have done when you believe you can make a decision to go after a championship. But I think based on everything I have seen, Odell Beckham Jr. is the wrong answer. And for everybody out there who's a Giants fan that's ripping Eli, I think you guys are idiots. If a quarterback wins you 2 Super Bowls, he is a great quarterback for your franchise. You might not win another Super Bowl for 50 years if you are a Giants fan. Finding a quarterback who can win you 2 Super Bowls, even if he's not perfect, is an incredible, incredible achievement. Do you know how few quarterbacks have won multiple Super Bowls at one team? It's an incredible achievement. Yes, it is an incredible, unbelievable, extraordinary achievement. In my lifetime, here are the quarterbacks that have won multiple Super Bowls for the same team. Joe Montana, Tom Brady, John Elway, Ben Roethlisberger. I think there are only 5. I'm almost 40. I think there are only 5 quarterbacks that have ever won multiple Super Bowls for the same franchise. In 40 years, Giants fans, you guys are idiots. You have one of the quarterbacks that has won. Troy Aikman is another. 6. All right? Troy Aikman is another. 6 championships in my lifetime. Only 6 guys have done it. Troy Aikman, Joe Montana, Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady, and who was the 5th that I named earlier? There are only 6 guys who have done it in my lifetime. It's almost unheard of. Eli is him. Elway. That's a big-time accomplishment. I think Eli is underrated. I think people like to pick on him. I think it's stupid. And I believe that Giants fans, if history is any kind of lesson, will teach you that it's rare. Brett Favre did not. You're misspelling his name. He won 1 Super Bowl. I believe Steve Young won a Super Bowl. Peyton Manning won 1 with the Colts and 1 with the Broncos. I'm talking about 2 with the same franchise. Drew Brees has 1. Aaron Rodgers has 1. Those are the guys. And it's a short list, and I think Eli's being unfairly criticized. Again, I said in my life, you can name other guys who have done it. I'm talking about in my lifetime as a sports fan. That's the last 39 years. Okay? Let me give you my gambling picks. My solution, beyond a shadow of a doubt, if I were making decisions, trade right now Odell Beckham Jr., get a first-round pick, get out of a disastrous, huge contract that he's not going to be worth, especially if you have a young rookie quarterback. Acknowledge you're not close to a championship and start to build around the best offensive playmaker you have, Saquon Barkley, before Odell Beckham becomes an even bigger distraction and a bigger issue than he already has for your franchise. Okay? Here are my gambling picks. Let me give you my gambling picks. Let me make you some money. I've added one. I added Texas A&M minus 2.5 at South Carolina. So I now have 14 gambling picks for you this weekend. All right? Are you ready? Here we go. Here are my gambling picks. Central Florida at Memphis and the over. Blood bank guarantee right there. I've got Tennessee against Auburn and the under. I have got Georgia at LSU and the under. I have got Michigan State at Penn State. I've got Penn State and I've got the over. Ole Miss at Arkansas, I've got the over. At Mizzou at Bama, I've got Bama and the over. On Florida Vandy, I've got Florida and Vandy. And like I said, I've added one more, and that one more pick is Texas A&M at South Carolina. Texas A&M minus 2.5. So there are now 14 gambling picks this weekend. I'm telling you, 14 gambling picks. Get rich, kids. I've also got you an NFL parlay, or as Cousin Sal suggested on the show yesterday, we should call these parlays because I love to play parlays. Even though I know you don't get true odds, I like to bet on multiple games and try to make a lot more money, all right? I've got the under on the Jags-Cowboys. I've got the over on Chiefs-Patriots. And I have got the Chargers on the road against the Browns. I've given out a ton of college football parlays. I'm not even going to pick one. They all involve those 14 picks that I just gave you, and they'll all be on my page on Lock It in about an hour when those go up. Respect the picks. DBAP, boys and girls. Let's all make some money this weekend. Those are all of my picks. All right? Those are my picks. A couple of other things. Bama, Ohio State. There is inevitably every time of late that I have come out and I have said, you know what? Alabama may be the best team in college football that I have seen in a very long time. There is what reaction? Inevitably on social media, they haven't played anybody. They haven't played anybody, guy, is obsessive and unlikable and thoroughly detestable, and he loves to throw that card out, they haven't played anybody. Here's the truth. Alabama's resume is almost identical to Ohio State's resume right now, except Ohio State is nowhere near as good as Alabama has been. Last night, Texas Tech, guns up, congratulations, Red Raiders, went on the road and beat TCU. That is a third loss for TCU. They are now 3-3. Texas Tech was beaten by 20 points by Ole Miss, a team that Alabama beat 62-7. Now, I am not out here saying that you can play the transitive property, but I believe when you look at the evidence, Alabama has beaten one top 25 team, Texas A&M, and they crushed them. Ohio State has beaten one top 25 team, Penn State, and they were very lucky to actually win that game. If you break down the 6 games that Alabama has played versus the 6 games that Ohio State has played, the resumes are nearly identical, except Alabama's is better. So if you are out there arguing Alabama hasn't played anybody, you need to recognize that actually Alabama has played and dominated at least as tough of a schedule, if not a tougher schedule, than what Ohio State has done. Ohio State was insanely fortunate to beat Penn State. They were down 12 points in the second half at Penn State and should have lost that game. Bama hasn't even been within 20 points nobody's been within 20 points of Bama all season long. People say, oh, well, Ohio State played Penn State. They're in the top 10. Okay. what has Penn State done so far to make you think that they are a great team? Who has Penn State beaten that's a great football team this year? Illinois? Pitt? Going to double overtime or overtime against App State? Penn State, and I love James Franklin, everybody knows that, is a top 10 team based almost entirely on the fact that they're Penn State. Their actual resume has nothing on it to prove that they are a top 10 team. There is nothing in them that guarantees that they're a top 10 team. So if you're Ohio State and you're sitting around saying, well, Penn State is a top 10 team, based on what? Based on the fact that we think they're a top 10 team? Wasn't TCU a top 10 team earlier this year before we found out they're not actually very good? Tua Tagovailoa has been better than Dwayne Haskins. I understand Ohio State fans don't want to believe it because most of them haven't watched Tua. But what Tua has done is off the charts, and what Bama has done so far is also off the charts. Ohio State has one top 25 team, I believe I'm correct in this, left on their regular season schedule. Michigan. That's it. Right now, Alabama has top 25 games against Auburn, LSU, and Mississippi State. So Bama still has in their final 6 3 top 25 teams. Ohio State has 1. Moreover, and this is great, Alabama, I went ahead and saved this stat for the people out there who are Alabama hasn't played anybody truthers. Since 2014, 15, 16, and 17, Alabama has played 32 top 25 teams. Ohio State has played 17. Clemson has played 19, and Georgia has played 19. And for everybody out there who wants to talk about teams that aren't very good on Alabama's schedule, is it Alabama's fault that Louisville sucks? They played 8 SEC games, and they're playing against the top 25 caliber Louisville program at the time that game was scheduled. It's not their fault they fell apart. So if you're arguing Alabama hasn't played anybody, they played the same number of top 25 teams as Ohio State, and they beat the team that beat TCU. Ole Miss did. The team they beat 62-7. So that's the truth. That's a lazy argument. If anybody out there is arguing Alabama hasn't played anybody, you should fire back and say, actually, their schedule is every bit as good as Ohio State's. For some reason, nobody's pointing out that Ohio State hasn't played anybody at all either. Finally, this is really intriguing to me. We are starting to get what I told you. If you go back and watch this show, or you watch this show regularly, I said this was going to happen. I said Americans are going to repudiate the way that Democrats held themselves in the Senate Judiciary Committee. I said reasonable Americans across the country are not going to think it makes sense to quiz somebody based on a 35-year-old yearbook. I said they are not going to believe that a non-criminal act from 36 years ago with no corroborating evidence is the way to treat anybody. I also said that we are going to, as a country, start to have a reconciliation where we ultimately decide that you can't believe somebody because they're a woman and you can't believe somebody because they're a man. What you should believe someone or not believe someone based on is the overall evidence at play. And social media does not reflect what Americans actually believe. The studies prove over and over again that social media is a funhouse mirror. And I believe that Democrats are getting seduced by social media. They are paying attention to what people say on social media, and they are losing their way. And so as a result, the Senate is going to go even more solidly to the Republicans than it already is. I think that the Senate, the Democrats are going to lose at least 3 seats and maybe 4 seats, and the evidence is going to start to reflect this. In fact, it already has. In Tennessee, where I live in Nashville, Marsha Blackburn and Phil Bredesen have been engaged in a head-to-head with no separation for months over who was going to win this Senate seat. The New York Times today came out with a poll that showed that Marsha Blackburn is now up 14 points on Phil Bredesen in Tennessee. Why did that happen? I think because a lot of people, including me, made the decision that after that Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, we're not voting in a series of local elections. That hearing nationalized the way we were going to vote. I was leaning towards Phil Bredesen before the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing. I am now going to vote for Marsha Blackburn based entirely on the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, because I don't believe I can reward the Senate Democrats for their behavior in that election. So as a result, I'm going to vote for Marsha Blackburn to be the next senator from Tennessee, and I think there are hundreds of thousands of people in Tennessee making similar decision to me. They have been turned off by the Senate Democrats' behavior, particularly the Judiciary Committee's behavior, and they, as a result, are not going to vote for someone they might have otherwise considered. Now, I feel bad a little bit for Phil Bredesen. It's not really a vote against him. I loved him as mayor. I voted for him as governor. I think he did a fantastic job in both places, but I can't in any way allow my vote to endorse the behavior of the Senate Democrats and their activity and their performance in that Senate Judiciary Committee hearing. But it's not just me. Ted Cruz is now up, according to the New York Times, 8 points over Beto in Texas. This thing is not going to be close in Texas. It might have been, but for the Senate Democrats' behavior. Now Ted Cruz is going to beat Beto with ease. Nevada Senate, Heller is up right now, and it looks like he's going to stay up. In the Arizona Senate, McSally has opened up a 6-point lead in that Senate race. A lot of other states are tightening. The most recent numbers out of Michigan show that James is now only down 9 points coming down the stretch. He's made it a single-digit game there effectively, and I think he's surging in the polls because a lot of people in Michigan are making the same decision. I think if you look at the numbers, everything is breaking in the direction of the Republicans in the Senate. And so I think what's going to happen in Nevada, Arizona, Texas, Tennessee, Missouri, Florida, Montana, North Dakota, where Heidi Heitkamp is now down double digits to Kramer, all of these seats are going to swing towards the Republicans. I think the Republicans are going to pick up in Missouri. I think they're going to pick up in North Dakota. I think they're going to protect in many of these other states. I think the Democrats are going to end up picking up about 3 different Senate seats and solidifying their majority. Now, I think the House of Representatives is going to be more of a toss-up. I think it's likely that the Democrats might end up winning there, but I think the question the Democrats are going to have to ask themselves is that really good? Is it really good to allow Nancy Pelosi to take over as the Speaker of the House? Because I think Donald Trump's going to be able to use her as a foil, and I think that helps Trump in 2020 because then he can blame the House for not being able to actually be able to get anything done. So all of this is fascinating. I think I was the first person to tell you the blowback is going to be severe on Democrats in the Senate. And I think what Democrats in the Senate need to do is get off of social media and get out and talk to real people. And I think real people found their behavior to be insanely disappointing, depressing, and McCarthy-like in that hearing. You don't want to vote for Brett Kavanaugh, don't do it. But I think that was a crucible moment for our democracy. I think majorities of the population out there, whether you're Republicans, Democrats, or independents, believes that you should have to be proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, or at least the preponderance of the evidence has to favor you in order to be found guilty. And so I think there are going to be a lot of movements in a positive direction for the Senate, for Republicans. I think Mitch McConnell has outplayed Chuck Schumer and everybody else in the Senate. I can't believe the Democrats were this dumb. I feel bad for guys like Phil Bredesen, who otherwise I would have been willing to vote for. If the normal vote had just taken place in the Senate and this thing had never turned into the circus that it did, was caused by Dianne Feinstein and other Democrats, I would have potentially voted for Phil Bredesen. I am going to vote for Carl Dean. He is a former law professor of mine. He's a Democrat running for the governorship. So I have written about that. I have tweeted it out, and that will happen, and all of that will be fantastic. A Democratic House, again, I think is fantastic for Donald Trump, because then he can run against Nancy Pelosi. He can make the Democrats look even more ridiculous than they already are. Instead of rising up and challenging Donald Trump on the ideas, what I have seen the Democrats do is fall beneath Donald Trump. I think the Democrats are behaving more crazily in their hate for Donald Trump than Donald Trump is behaving. Instead of elevating the conversation, they have gone further and deeper into the mud, and they are getting and looking ridiculous. Trump wins a mud fight. Everybody already knows Donald Trump is in the mud. The way the Democrats beat him is by doing something that is different than what Donald Trump is doing. Instead, they're doing the exact same things. So I'm just trying to give you a breakdown of where this is all headed from my perspective. Finally, I am headed directly to London. I am flying to London. I still can't believe this. Born and raised as a Nashville kid, I can't believe it. We have a direct flight nonstop to London now. So tomorrow night, I'm taking the whole crew. Hopefully, we won't get lice this time. I'm taking the whole crew, all three boys, my wife, we are, and our personal assistant / nanny / guru of everything. All six of us are hopping on a plane in Nashville and flying over to London. I'm going to go take the boys and everybody else to go watch the Titans-Chargers game in Wembley Stadium, not this Sunday, but next Sunday. And then we are going to stay in London for the entire week. I'll be doing the radio show from there. I will not take all of the Periscope show and everything else. I don't think I'll be doing this unless something crazy happens. I don't think I'll be doing Periscope or Facebook. So you guys are going to have to live for a week without me. I can't wait to get over there. We are going to have a tremendous time. We had a great time on our vacation last year. We may also go to an EPL game, English Premier League game. Again, I'll be doing the radio show from over there, but everything else is not going to change. My show will be taping it over there from 11 to 2 p.m. So the radio show will continue. No issues if you listen to the Outkick the Coverage radio show. But I'm going to be out and about being a dad, and so I will not probably be hopping on Periscope or Facebook Live as often. All right? Go buy the book. I'm taking my whole family to Europe. You got to help pay for it. Republicans buy sneakers too. Should be in every bookstore in America. We will have a great time. I will write the starting 11. Not sure that I will do the anonymous mailbag. Kind of depends on how busy we get to be, and also just kind of how the schedule works out and how tired everybody is. Will not be doing Lock It In. Jason Whitlock is going to sit in for me next week and make gambling picks on my behalf. Right now, by the way, I'm in the lead as we come into the final weekend of Lock It In. This is the first Friday that I've had an actual lead. I'm a little bit nervous about my ability to win the crown. Fingers crossed that I'm going to be able to do it. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for spending so much time with me. Again, radio show will be live from London, and we'll be going to Chargers and to Titans. I appreciate all of you. My name is Clay Travis. This has been Outkick the Show. Respect the picks. One last time on the picks. I'm going to run through them one last time so that you have got them all. The gambling picks. A&M at South Carolina, -2.5. Florida at Vandy and the under. I am on Mizzou. I'm on Bama and the over in the Mizzou game. I'm on the over in Ole Miss, Arkansas. I am on Penn State and the over in Michigan State, Penn State. I am on Georgia and the under on the Georgia LSU game. And I am on Tennessee and the under in the Auburn game. And finally, the blood bank guarantee. I'm telling you this right now. Central Florida, -4.5 and the over. That is a ton of picks, all designed to make you rich. Did I see a fade? That's not a respect the picks. Tap the vein, boys and girls. We're headed out for the week on the vein tap. Central Florida going to win big. I love all of you. I appreciate all of you. Remember, respect the picks. Kisses. I'll see y'all sometime soon, hopefully. Bye.